welcome to JasonWhiskyWise. My name is Jason. Welcome to this whiskey review, where today, here on the channel, we're going to be reviewing the Lagavulin 10-year-old, which was made for travel retail. And if you guys haven't seen this bottle already, it says here, travel retail exclusive, or travel exclusive. So they really want you to know that it is a travel exclusive whiskey. So this one is actually one I got from my friend Mike, Caster Drams, and I'll leave a picture of his over here. So a massive thank you, Mike, as he picked this one up. It was released within a week of within it being released at the airports. Mike went, picked up a bottle, and brought it over to me. And I think I paid about £50 for this bottle. So it's up there with the Lagavulin 16. And some of you may know from my Lagavulin 16 review, I reviewed, I think, the Lagavulin 8-year-old. I've got the Lagavulin 12. I'm trying to get the Lagavulin 11 Nick Offerman edition. And I'm trying to see if I can pick up some other Lagavulins, sort of to have like a really cool tasting. I've actually even got the Lagavulin Game of Thrones. I think that's a 9-year-old whiskey. So fingers crossed you'll see those soon. I've got the whole Game of Thrones set. So I'll have those also here on the channel rather soon. I know it's rather late, but I'd rather share with you guys my opinion, especially because I want to review every single Lagavulin, the 8, the 9, the 10, the 11, the 12, etc. I think it'd be quite a cool thing, and I want to do a complete vertical with them as well. So without carrying on too longer, this one in my review style structure, it is a 10-year-old whiskey, bottled at an ABV of 43%. The distillery itself is the Lagavulin Distillery. Yes, Mr. Bananas has been there. He's been almost bloody everywhere. In terms of the parent company, they have Diageo. And in terms of the region, it's from Islay in Scotland. Now, in terms of the price point, I paid, again, £50. I think it was £49 I paid Mike for this one. It's about £50 for a 70cl bottle. And I've got to stress this. In travel retail, you're looking for exclusives, you're looking for bargains, you're looking for deals that can, when you go home, you feel it was money well spent. This one, you're paying £50 for a 70cl bottle and 43%. I just hope the liquid quality is up there with, in the same range, because the 16, I can pay £55, get the Lagavulin 16. So I'm going to probably compare at the end to the Lagavulin 16 and the 8-year-old, which I still have a bottle or two of those. So without further ado, in terms of exclusivity, yes, it is exclusive. It's travel retail exclusive. But normally, when anything is released in travel retail, give it a year or two, and then it is phased out of travel retail because it's considered, past its point, and then it goes into the domestic market. So probably now we'll start seeing these come into the domestic market. But yes, as I said, without further ado, let's dive straight into the nose of this whiskey. Into the nose. So first impressions on the nose, the Lagavulin 10. You do get that sort of smoky character that comes too for me, but for me this is not like ashy smoke. This is not like, forest fire smoke. This is more like an earthy smoke. It's like, when you're burning, if you've got a fire pit and you're burning some of your garden waste, and by accident you throw a massive plant in there which has got lots of the earth or mud attached to it, and you can smell that earth being burnt, and being churned up. So for me, it's got that earthy, really, stronger sort of smoke, but it's not as intense as other Lagavulins I have tried. For me, I find this rather more gentle than the 16-year-old expression. I actually find it a bit more milder and softer. That sea spray is definitely pronounced on this one. It's like when you go to a beach for the first time. If you've ever been to a beach for the first time, and if you haven't been, definitely go and try it out. But you can smell when the water hits the sort of the beach or even the rocks. Because in the UK, you don't really get that many sandy beaches over here. But it's like when it hits the rocks, you can smell the sort of salt in the air. And from there, you then get into that iodine, that sort of... For me, I'm associating this one a lot with lemons. This is almost like a charred lemon. Taking a lemon, you stuck it on the barbecue, and you can just smell the juices of that one just coming apart, the oils from the lemon as it's being toasted and heated up. And interestingly enough, I get a rather unique character, which I think this might be the first ever time on video, on record, of me ever saying this. But I think I'm getting pencil shavings. It reminds me of when you're a kid, you used to have those HB pencils and you're always, writing in pencil, you're doing a maths, etc. It just reminds me of when you're sharpening the pencil, that pencil shavings, that graphite. Wow, very interesting. That's the first time I've ever picked up pencil shavings on a whiskey. And from there, I'm also getting those cold, so to speak, when you've had a barbecue. I'm saying this because literally at this time of year, all my neighbors are doing barbecues. So all I can pretty much smell most of the time when people are doing barbecues is the different characteristics. So they're using different types of, you know, whether they're using coal, whether they're using briquettes, or they're using X, Y, and Z. You can pick it out quite well. So for me, this is like cold coals. And there's a slight sweeter, rubbery note on the end of this one. Very interesting. All right, let's get into the palate next. Slanger. So arrival on the palate for the Lagavulin 10-year-old. Arrival-wise, texture is rather light. For me, this is rather watery. I think it's actually, I've got my water bottle just over here. It is pretty much like water. It doesn't have very much texture, no depth in the actual way that it feels on the palate. For me, you're greeted with spice up front. There's black pepper, allspice, sweet cinnamon, but it's more like cinnamon sticks, not the cinnamon powder. And then you get that cold smoke that comes over the top of all of that. So if you've almost like let the smoke sort of just go over the top of these spices. Sea salt, again, a rubbery note, a slight bit of that tarry note as well, and then worn leather. You get a worn leather, a bit of a vegetal note. For me, for some reason, in the back of the mind, I'm thinking this is more like rosemary, smoked rosemary. And then I'm getting also smoked apples. For me, again, this is probably not green apples. This is more towards red apples. This is like those Royal Gala apples. And then from there, I'm getting a bit of licorice, but it's not really as intense as black licorice. Neither is it as the same as red licorice. It's somewhere in a sort of a healthy middle ground between the two. Quite an interesting palate for this one. But let's see what we have in the finish, and then I'll come to my concluding notes for the Lagavulin 10-year-old. So overall, to conclude on the Lagavulin 10-year-old, this travel exclusive, for me, the finish on this whiskey is between, I'd say, a medium long. The reason I say medium long is because it's more or less the peak, which is rolling off the top of the tongue, which really holds the length in this finish. The spices are sort of faded away, and so is that also that little bit of that fruitier profile and that tarry note, and you're really left with more or less, for me, it's like worn leather, dark tobacco, a bit of sea salt, but this is more probably pushing towards pink sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt. And then you're getting this almost like toasted citrus peel, and that really works very well with the salty character, as it doesn't feel too much on the end of the palate. But you do feel this little bit of a drying aspect. And for me, this is almost like a Lady Grey tea, where it's got that little bit of a citrusy zing to it, just on the end. So in terms of my opinion on this whiskey and my overall score, for me, I'm going to give this whiskey an 86 out of 100. For me, I love Lagavulin. For me, it's one of the things, the Lagavulin 16 was the first sort of Islay whiskey I tried, and really, you know, I was like, yeah, at the time I wasn't a big fan of it, but now I've really warmed up to it. So when I compare this to that, this one is a whole lot more lighter. It's a different dimension, but it is a bit more spicier on the palate. To me, actually, it's more spicy than the 8, the 16, and the 12-year-old. In terms of, do I think it's value for money at £49? To be honest, so this is like a heartfelt thing about Lagavulin, and to this expression, I feel it's not giving you enough justification for being a travel retail exclusive, because for what you can buy for the 8-year-old, you can buy that about £48. For the 16-year-old, £55. 12-year-old is obviously now gone up to about £90 to £100, but leave that out of the equation. The 8 and the 16, for me, just they're much more worth it. So for me, this is a borderline yes or no. If you're a Lagavulin lover, you'll go to it, you'll buy it, you'll like it. For me, I just feel a bit mixed about it. In terms of does it need water, does it need time? Give this one time. When I first opened this whiskey over here, like, so we've got to about here so far. First opened it with Mike at the airport. Don't know if I'm allowed to say I opened it at the airport, but it's already on camera. But when the first time we opened it, I tried it, because I always carry mini Glencairns. Anyone who knows me knows I always have a pouch, mini Glencairns. But this one, it was too bitter and too spicy, and it was like it wanted to fight with you almost for a Lagavulin, because the 8-year-old isn't like that. This one is much more aggressive with a spicy aspect, and that sort of, I don't know, it for me just felt much more spicy than the other ones. Over time though, it's mellowing out, and I'm kind of interested to see how it does get to by the time I get halfway or probably to the end of the bottle. But for me, the value for money aspect, I feel it's probably a bit too much. I think it needs to be around about that 35 to 40 pound bracket. I think it's a bit too much, in my opinion. Does it need water? Yes and no, you can do, but the texture is already watery, so you're pretty much watering it out even further. Unless you want to make a smoky cokey, and if any of you guys don't know that, it was a phrase made very famous by Colin Dunn, who's the ambassador. Diageo. It's where he added Coca-Cola and Lagavulin, and he made a smoky cokey. So I still haven't tried that yet. But anyway, do I think it's in terms of time aspect? Do give this one some time. Let it. I think it will just mellow out, and that spice wouldn't really be so punchy. So overall, 86 out of 100. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What's your favorite Lagavulin expression? And if you haven't missed any of the other Lagavulin reviews, I'll leave them up here on the screen, so feel free to check those out. But thank you guys for watching very much. If you have enjoyed, drop a thumbs up, subscribe, and this has been me, JasonWhiskyWise. I'll catch you all for the next video. Slanger.